All right. Well, okay. So this is the traditional shabby, not too shabby draft review here. First time I will have someone joining me here. Fight Mac, the Mac. Mac, found yourself in a wild position last season, and then with this draft, you've always been like a contender. The floor kind of fell out on you last season. What do you attribute your struggles last season to? Like, what went wrong with that team?
No offense, and I don't know why. I don't know whether the running back was slow or the playbook was crappy. I think it was a combination of really crappy playbook, which due to the talent of the everybody here, kind of limited my plays to basically three of them. So you got a 33% chance of calling a play instead of 25. So that makes a difference trying to run an offense. And most of the time it's just because the offense sputtered so bad that I either like take too many risks, you put my defense, too much pressure to hold, or at the very least, not score enough points to really keep up with the points I was giving up. So
All right. Well, as we're going to see when we get to when we get to your team, I don't think you'll be wanting for offensive firepower this season, to say the least. What playbook did you end up with this time around, Mac?
all right, so looking at the playbook last season, I got Denver, which I think has that. I think it's got that run one that kind of doesn't have a standard block. Versus this season, I got Indy. So there's two runs with actual blockers, depending on what side they choose to man, as well as a couple formidable enough pass plays. One in particular to get Bo out uh, to the other side, which little foreshadowing there,
Yeah.
and I think it's significantly better than the playbook I got last season with the offense I had last season too.
Denver's a weird playbook. Like, I still consider it to be really strong for like tournament play. Denver's a really good team, but it hasn't, like, I didn't feel like I ran the Denver playbook great when I had it. That was a weird season because I scuffled in the regular season and then got hot with Timmy Smith in the playoffs and went to the finals. But I did not have an ounce of confidence in that offense that whole season.
Right.
And the playbook is, it's a weird balance of, like, you gotta like make plays. You gotta get a lot out of that shotgun pass, which can be tough because guys will sit on it, and then it's a lot to manage even when they haven't called it. So, just wild. But let's dive in here. Speaking of Denver, Dizzy P. I don't know about all that, Wade. Uh, let's look at Dizzy P's Denver squad here.
Okay.
Dizzy, um, he's kind of pulling a Mac move here, loaded with offensive talent. Joe Montana, Walter Payton, and Cleveland. He's gonna the Cleveland wide receivers, and he's gonna put them in the Cleveland playbook. Weak offensive line. He's got LA. Now, defensively, the star here is going to be Mecklenburg in that Denver mid, and he drops Charles Haley into the Denver bottom. Haley, in my opinion, was the best defensive player in the hero round this season. So, Mac, this is a lot of talent on this Denver squad. What's your take of what Dizzy's got going on here?
I like it only because of the playbook. I mean, without that standardized, like you got to pick and choose what side you um, have to man. Otherwise, your Fubar um, definitely will help. Uh, the offensive line kind of, I think, kind of hampers it a bit because if he had like my line, a little more foreshadowing, um, then he could at the very least popcorn or have little less defenders to worry about with that. With that, that being said, I like it. Haley is to me, yeah. I mean, is he the best? in the hero draft? I don't think so, but he's like oh darn, the name escapes me at this moment. I know the
Well,
bottom the that bottom linebacker for I think it's Seattle, I think, or Indy. Bickett.
Vickett for
Bickett,
Indy.
yeah. Yeah. So I think
Yeah,
Haley's kind of a slightly faster Bickett by like such an insignificant point that it's gonna help a little bit, but otherwise it's a good team. It's a draft. It's a team kind of team I would draft because you got Joe and Walter, so you got a dual threat, and you got Cleveland, receivers which can keep everybody at least honest enough
yeah,
if they decide to choose run and he picks pass, so he can either you're what are you going to do, right? Defend the pass or defend the QB sneak, so or QB run. So it's like there. It's just that the defense is I think a little uh just a tad bit lacking, but realistically, I mean because it's you got Mech and Haley, they're kind of close but kind of far. So depending on the playbook that they're against, it's gonna really either be a good thing or just the slaughter of hey, if you're gonna pick Mech, you're getting ran on depending on what run. Versus if you're picking Haley, that also depends on what run you're gonna um, man or guard too. So
yeah. So looking at Dizzy's team here, one of the things I like the most about it is he's got the chance to put the ball in Peyton's hand past the line of scrimmage in that Cleveland playbook. That's gonna help him out a lot. The only thing I don't like about this roster, because I think it's really good, I'm a little more bullish on it. He doesn't have a good top defender, right? Like Sean Jones at top D end is probably his best option. I don't really like Haynes at top safety, but he's got a strong one in the middle with Mecklenburg, and then Haley is, you know, quite good there on the bottom. So this is a really good team. Dizzy always puts a good team out there. He's been hanging tough as hell these last few seasons, staying out of relegation and looking for that breakthrough. So good team, nice job, Diz. Let's look at the big boss man himself, Drew Manster, and his Washington squad. Um, he's basically got, well, he's got a souped up version of the Denver offensive personnel. Elway, Dorsett, and Denver receivers, plus Anthony Miller. So this is basically the Denver receiving core from the Japan version of the game, with Anthony Miller playing the role of Vance Johnson. He's putting them in the Minnesota playbook. Mac, you're a fan of the Minnesota playbook. I know you've had it before. Do you like that one?
um, let's see. I'd have to actually look. I feel like I have probably a few seasons ago. Just let
Yeah.
me actually pull up the
While
draft
you're
sheet here
do
to
while
take
you're
that.
doing that, it's very Clevelandy. The difference is it has a different run to the top, which I think that run to the top that's in the Denver, Seattle, Minnesota, and Chicago playbooks might be the key to defeating the current like top safety meta, because when that guard drifts, when he pulls, it delays his engagement with the top safety. So it takes longer for the safety to deal with that blocker and should let your guy get by. We'll see. I personally am betting big on that this season with my own team, which we'll look at here in just a few minutes. Drew's got that Chicago top, so Dave Duerson, and that's that's about it. My eyes ain't what they used to be, and the print is small. I don't like. There's not really anything to like about the rest of his defense. But if you've got Duerson, okay, Cliff Odom. Yes, I am one of the many heroes of the proletariat all over that indie defense that I love so much. But Duerson he's the star here. Minnesota special teams, one maybe the best all around unit. They're just so great. I just love everything about Minnesota special teams. Drew, you're here in the chat. Why did you want the Minnesota playbook? I'll let you type out your response. Mac, have you gotten a look at that playbook, bud?
Yep, I did. It's good. That run one um does look similar to those other teams. So again, it kind of depends on personnel and how uh people want to pick the defender, and do they want to engage the blocker, the pulling guard real quickly, or take a safety, take a chance with the drone coming at them. So it that to me depends on, and I speak about it last season. I kind of figured out how to run with that a little late in my season to do better, but I didn't do that great anyway.
Okay.
So Drew having Tony Dorsett, which I think is about the same as about a little faster than Craig, will help with that. And he's obviously going to be a dual threat with Elway and Miller too. So and plus he gets a few points because it's Drew. So yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
either way, it's gonna work out because it's just how he does. So it's not
Yeah.
not that big a deal.
Drew has won Drew has won championships with rosters that would make me go lay down in the alley and just wait for death. So he will be fine with a bad roster. This is an extremely talented offense. Um, like I think Dan has done DPS has done a lot of great things with Tony Dorsett. We know that's a back who can win. It's another situation where he can get the ball in Dorsett's hands beyond the line of scrimmage on that kind of that screen that turns into like a wheel route to the running back. Crazy talented offense here. He wanted a good guard, and he got one with the Denver O line. The defense is thin. Drew's a good defender um, with bad defenders, right? So he doesn't necessarily need that top tier talent to be good. Drew says he likes the playbook, good separation on pass one, check down to Dorsett or deep shot on pass two. Elway can scramble for a long time on pass two to maximize the dump off. I saw I could get a hold of a good pulling guard as well in Bishop. Yeah, good separation on pass one at times. Drew stipulates here. So, yeah, this is a good team. Um, really nicely done for drafting in the second to last spot, benefiting from some of that synergy that you get from picking late in the round. Drew was already banging the drum on Elway for MVP, so we'll see how that goes. Speaking of perennial MVP candidates, let's look at DPS's Chicago squad. Jim McMahon, the most storied and successful player in Tecmo Bowl history, despite being one of the least talented guys in the league each season. The great Kurt Warner at running back. Mediocre Chicago wide receivers. Defensively, he's going to put Felix Wright in the Indianapolis top group. He's got Michael Carter and San Fran mid, and then the Chicago bottom. So this is a really untalented and bad defense. So we're going to see, because I don't think Felix Wright has any initial speed. Other than Michael Carter, I don't think there is a point of initial speed on this defense. I think it's Dan is the guy who makes a habit of overdrafting defense. So it's definitely a different look. Yeah, Felix Wright is like Michael Haynes up there. Drew just put in the chat. This is the worst defense Dan's ever put out there. It's one of the worst defenses anyone's put out there. So we'll see how that works out for him. Where did the talent go? That's my question. He spent a high. If he wasn't taking defensive players, so he did take a defender with his hero pick,
Yep.
but a really bad one. And then he's got Chicago special teams. I want to say that was his second pick. So he went Warner, Chicago special teams, and Felix Wright with that flurry of initial picks. That's wild. Not a He is in the Washington playbook, which he's been very successful in. But this is, I want to say, the worst team I can ever recall Dan putting out on the field. Mac, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I would. I would tend to agree. That the line only got one 80 plus player, and past that, I don't really foresee too much blockage or blocking for usage for the special teams that he drafted. Part of his whole game plan is now, I'm gonna now start drafting for special teams and get kickoff touchdowns, or you know have a short field due to my kick returns. But part of that is predicated with having at least more than one 80 plus somebody
Yeah.
to block on those returns. So the fact that you only got one is going to make it a little more difficult to get those really big gains in the kickoff runs, because then there's less to really worry about, blocking. It's the equivalent of like having Rathman be your kick returner, or Cobb or something like that in Tecmo Super Bowl.
Right.
But a lot of that help where your defenders are those that are coming at don't have enough HP to grapple. So other than that, I think DPS is like Drew, like he just makes stuff happen with whatever he gets. So wouldn't be surprised if he gets to another Super Bowl with this team, because you obviously got a running back. So what are you going to do? You're going to stop the run or stop the pass with him, But
Yeah.
ultimately, it's really going to depend on how he mans, who he mans, and chooses how to select where that goes defensively to get enough stops to either just pound the rock with Warner, or dink and dunk with McMahon as always. So,
Yeah. I mean, he's going to score because he'll get those returns, and he does have a very good back. Um, and Dan is one of the great pass cyclers in this league, probably the best. And so that helps him immensely get good looks with Jim McMahon. Um, yeah, I got a huge kick out of Wade saying that Mac is too smart for the league because you said predicated. That is a great word. Outstanding usage. Um, so and Dan lives to humiliate people in this league and lives to take offense. So I'm sure he's writing down the fact that I said this is a terrible team and is going to beat me by 3 scores. But I will
right.
say that one of the things that has helped him immensely in the success he's had in this league is having a great defender on defense. He does not have it this season. So we'll see. I mean, we'll see. He's going to score for sure. Now let's move on and look at this jerk in pink, Fiddlesticks, and the Tecmo Seattle squad. First, we got to address the elephant in the room. The biggest bungle in this draft. I lost track of the 3-4 middle defensive units and wound up, for some reason, I was just telling myself, oh, I'll take Dallas. Well, Dallas is a 4-3. And so I ended up with a 4-3 unit, which means that my hero pick, Byron Evans, goes from being a very useful player against about half the teams to only kind of being a useful player. It's a bungle. There's no way around it. It's the shabbiest thing I can ever recall doing in a draft. The reason I'm not crying in my beer about it is that I don't really need him. I've got Ronnie Lott on the top in defense and Howie Long on bottom. Evans was always going to be my third guy. Now he's just a much worse third guy. So, acknowledging the draft's biggest bungle, I did it this time. Terrible mistake. But let's look at, yeah, I mean, Drew, I'm just, it's going to be fine, right? And if I can get some rushes on some extra point attempts with Evans, then that to me justifies the pick because I didn't love the state of the board in the hero round when I picked anyway. So offensively, I don't have a lot of talent here. I got Sir David Craig, who our modern understanding basically Drew realized that we weren't factoring in some information about Williams and Sims. That kind of bring we used to kind of think of them sitting above, like in the top half. Well, they're not. They're kind of down in a big dog pile with Craig and Kramer. So Craig is not a bad quarterback. There's some really good quarterbacks in the league this year. Craig's not one of them, but he can throw the deep ball to Steve Largent. We know that. He does it on the OG ROM all the time. That's what I'm going to need him to do this season. And then I need a lot of work from my run game, Joe Morris, and the Washington offensive line. So this is a solid offensive unit, but I don't have a superstar. The superstar talent for me is on defense, and so I'm just going to have to play better than I have been in recent seasons. Miami special teams, Reggie Roby, one of the best. Everything else is pretty unimpressive. And then I got the Chicago playbook. I started feeling a lot better about my season once I secured Joe Morris and the Chicago playbook. Real quick, my running back situation. I thought about taking Kurt Warner at the 8th pick in the first round. That seemed like a crazy reach to me. And so I didn't. And I kind of resigned myself to the fact that it might cost me. Well, Marcus Allen was taken shortly before my second pick. So there goes the 9-4 running backs. And then I thought, how big of a difference are we talking here between like Joe Morris and like Timmy Smith? And I think Joe Morris is better than Timmy Smith. But I decided to wait again in the second round. And Morris and Dorsett both fell to me in the third round. That's where I grabbed him. So instead of taking Kurt Warner at 8, I took Joe Morris at 32, which I was, as Drew says in the chat, that's good. That's good value comparatively. Obviously, Kurt's a better player. But Mac, take a look at this roster and let me know what your thoughts are.
Um, Thoughts. Well, I will say you have by far the best overall defense in the drafted in the entire league because you obviously got Watt and Evans and who's at the bottom of. Oh, you got the LA bottom too.
Yeah,
What the
that's
hell's
Howie.
going on here? About to say you got a lot of. This is like switched here, so it's like DPS would draft your kind of team,
Yeah,
and
that's an outstanding
on
point.
defense, you know, and then sit here and be like, "Oh, I'm the best defender in the league." Well, no shit, you drafted 8 of them. That's in DPS. If you're listening or you're there, that's more of a dig on you and Tecmo Super Bowl. I always joke with him about, well, why don't you actually draft a shitty defense and see if you can defend? He's like, no fucking way. But excuse the language. Nonetheless, right?
Yeah,
I like the defense to the point where like it doesn't even the playbook's decent because the cheese will happen with the pass two and whatever else with the runs and whatnot. So I don't think to me, I mean 3-4-4-3, yeah. I mean I became a big fan of the 4-3 um before I drafted Reggie White just because it offers a different dynamic to defend runs and stuff when you choose to man a lineman versus a linebacker and you pick pass.
yeah.
But I'm sorry, you pick running and the offense picks pass and it kind of has a defender there to do something. But yeah, I feel like your team's going to be good enough, so good defensively that you'll get stops. There's not too many great punters, so you'll have a great field to kind of do your thing to get to the point where you can either kick a field goal or at the very least score points. But yeah, for the most part, like your defense is crazy. Just to give it a word.
Yeah, I'm hoping on some good special teams drone play out of Evans, and also just having a fast, strong guy in the middle of the defense does help. So we'll have to hang our hat on long punts and good defensive stance this season. My man 40 FPS. How many? I don't know if CJ's watching. CJ, how many years in a row is this with the San Fran playbook? I'm not even going to criticize. There's no point. It's all been said. I'm just curious. How many seasons in a row is this with the San Fran playbook? He's got some very interesting talent um, in the San Fran playbook. Dan Marino, best passing quarterback in the game. Timmy Smith. Timmy Smith has the initial speed to make guys miss and grind out the run game. Um, and then the Miami receivers, six consecutive seasons with the San Francisco playbook. That's got to be. I know that's a record. Um, so really interesting group of receivers here. It's the Miami guys with a big boost to their tight end with Farrell Edmonds. Now Edmonds is a tremendous talent. He's very fast. I don't love the San Fran playbook for getting the ball to a tight end, but that's just me. Like Nate Murs throws to the tight end in the San Fran playbook all the time. I almost never do. So that's just 40's going to have to go out of his way to get the ball in Edmonds' hands. Um, but with Timmy Smith going out for a couple of passes, this is a very talented offense here. Defensively, of course, he's got Carl Banks, he's got Mike Singletary, he's got Steve McMichael, and then not much to speak of in the Minnesota bottom unit. 40 said he is a knee jerk reaction to having the worst punter last season. He's got the best this one with Landetta. So, 40, that's a ton of top line talent there. I guess you're a little weak on the bottom half of your defense, but between Banks and McMichael, that's a ton of superstar firepower. And Singletary is kind of going to be like Evans for you, just hopefully a very useful drone. So there's a ton of above the line talent on this squad. The offense will be limited by the playbook. Defensively, I like it. This is a good squad. I'd take it in a heartbeat. Mac, what are your thoughts, bud?
All right, so Team Japan. First off, even with DPS too. Um, Secondly, I I don't like that playbook. I never did. Like, if you choose the right defender and you figure out, it's like, okay, I'm gonna let you run every down, and now you're just hoping, you pick 33% of his plays, and it just makes it easier to defend that way. So, it's cool that the San Francisco playbook's always his. It's just that, if people don't respect the run, they're not going to care about much about those passes as they should.
Yeah,
And the fact that it works with the San Francisco 49ers and Tecmo Bowl is because you have Montana and Rice at the bottom, to where, if you're going to let Montana run and scramble for 5-6 yards, or you're going to leave Rice open, um, to catch a 20-yard bomb somewhere. But this team doesn't have Rice, and
right.
it doesn't have Montana. So I feel like, similar to yours, the defense is going to have to be, um, the carrier of this team, which is doable for him. As I've said in chat, he's always found a way to kind of beat me when it counts. And it's just, I feel like there's going to be a struggle offensively with that playbook, and because of the lack of receivers, even with Edmonds being a formidable tight end, there's really not enough. Like, you need and even the Miami receivers are good, but they're not LA, and they're not
Right.
Rice.
Right.
So you have to really be disciplined, either waiting for the cheese or hope 33% of your pass plays don't get called. You know,
Right.
and even with me playing, knowing that, okay, I can't really man any bottom defenders, because that's exactly where the run is going. It's like, okay, well, then I'll just take my chances picking the right pass, and we'll see what happens. And
Yeah.
I feel like most teams would do that to him offensively too. You know, if he had a different playbook just one season. And it's true, he does know the playbook, but the thing is, most teams here know how to defend it too.
Yeah.
So there really isn't, like, it's cool that you know it, but it's not cool when the other teams know it too. How to defend best against it. My like to credit. We won't be getting to that other playbook that has run 1-2. I think till later down the line, but I feel like he'll do well enough to not be relegated. It just won't be to like a standard of hey, I'm making the playoffs and having a deep run.
Yeah,
But I think it'll do well. I think it'll do okay. Like it's not gonna be 10 or 2 or something along those lines. But
right.
he'll do well enough to probably beat me.
40 is has improved significantly as a player, right? And so like he's and his familiarity with that playbook, I think, probably does put him in a position to make the most of having Farrell Edmonds, because Edmonds is the guy he's really got to make some hay with. Because yeah, I like Duper and Clayton, but they're just okay. Um, Edmonds is the one with the elite speed. So between putting the ball and 40, he leans on the running back throws a lot too. Timmy Smith is a better receiving target than he is a running back, so he'll be all right in that regard. CJ, I believe, has had the best season anyone's ever had with the San Fran playbook. He made the semifinals one season. Otherwise, it hasn't been a great record. Tennessee asks if it's bad. I don't remember ever hearing the name Farrell Edmonds. I remember Farrell. Dolphins tight end. He was a Pro Bowler. He was a good player, and he's pretty good on Tecmo Super Bowl, too. All right, let's look at our guy, Jerry Graham. Jerry ends up with Jay Schrader, but I like the rest of this offensive talent. Eric Dickerson at running back. Al Toon headlining the crappy Dallas receiver core, but Jerry knew he was going to get that second pick, knew he was going to be adding Toon, um, and didn't have to sweat that. Defensively, he loves Rulon Jones, and I love Rulon Jones. He's got that Denver defensive top, Miami mid, and then he's putting Don Griffin um, at the bottom safety position. So that's an interesting defense because there are no superstars, but there's, like, I guess, usable guys at all three levels. Offerdahl, it depends on what the other guy's playbook is. He's got Cleveland special teams. Jerry is a big kick return guy. Um, so that will benefit him, and he's got a good offense, I think. He is going to run the Denver playbook, though, and it's one that hasn't necessarily had a ton of success in the league. So, Mac, what are your thoughts on this roster for Indy?
All right, let's take a look here. So, um, all right, let's go on ahead. Just what I want to look at is find that line to see where the hell Miami. Okay, so we got Miami O line, which is a great center. Okay, we got Altoon and Dickerson with okay Denver playbook. Yeah, okay. I think it is a decent team. It's really going to depend on again with that Denver playbook, like how many risks teams are going to take trying to defend that run up top versus choosing to run down bottom. For the most part, I feel like there's between the talent and the team. I think he'll have a similar record to 40, maybe a little better as far as wins and losses. But I feel like this team is good. You got Dickerson, so you got enough HP and speed there. Well, hold on, let me actually see if is he 80? I don't think he is. Is he?
Oh, Dickerson,
No, he
no, he
isn't.
doesn't
Okay,
have a ton of power. He's a speed guy.
okay. So yeah, it's fast enough. All right, I thought he was 80. Maybe I'm thinking of Japan. Dickerson. I don't know, but you know, I feel like it'll do well. I think it'll do equally as well. It's just going to come down to, um, how well that team can actually score points with the Denver playbook, and the one thing about
Yep.
the playbook, obviously, is going to be, that pass two and how many teams are going to correctly pick it when it's used
Yep.
versus the run one, and how many people are going to use the right defender when that one is used too. So we'll see. Like I said, I think it'll finish well.
When I have used Denver, like in tournament play, I find myself doing cross the field throws just constantly. Right? You can get away with that with Elway. Um, you can try and lure. You can use his icon, move him around the field to try and draw the defender away from where you want to throw the ball, and then hit that cross field throw. You can't really do that with Jay Schrader. Like I tried to do that with Schrader a few seasons ago in the Chicago playbook, a much simpler one to execute, and just ate shit big time until I adjusted my approach and just started focusing on shorter, straighter throws. So having a weak quarterback in the Denver playbook is not ideal, but I mean, you got Eric Dickerson, baby. You got Eric Dickerson, you got a chance. That's all there is to it. So I like this team. I believe Jerry will be in playoff contention for sure. And not just
Yep, me
because
too.
he's just a good player, but I like his team. Now let's scroll down here. Do I have everybody's on the screen? I think I do. All right.
Yep.
Our guy Cody just checked in. Let's take a look at this team. First off, he's in the New York playbook. Anytime you can put the New York receiver core in the New York playbook, if you can match, basically, if you can match a receiver core to their playbook, unless it's Dallas or Denver, I like that because you know that they're going to fit. You've got experience with those guys in that playbook. So I like the synergy there. Tommy Kramer, a capable, not elite, but capable quarterback. Herschel Walker, number 4 running back. Um, Good speed, great power. I like this offense. I like it a lot. The defense, it's the Seattle top, which sucks, but he is adding Wilker or Wilcher, his hero round pick. Wilcher's okay. I think he's a clone of Simon Fletcher from Japan, if I'm not mistaken. So he's okay. He's not great. Dallas mid garbage. He does have Dwayne Bickett in the Indy bottom. Dwayne Bickett's going to put pressure on field goals, gives you a capable defender down there. Fred Robinson also is a manable guy. He took the Seattle special teams, so the highlight there is the Pink Demon, BJ Edmonds, and everything else sucks. So this isn't a crazy talented roster, but there's balance here. Um, Yeah, he's doing like a Dollar General version of the New York defense with uh, let's say above average outside linebackers. So Mac, what do you make of this team?
Well, um, let's see. Hold on. Green Bay. Yeah, okay. We got Herschel. Yep, we got Bavaro. You got the okay. You got a good one decent person there. Let's see. Let's look at this. I forget what the Seattle special team. Yeah, this is basically the kind of team I don't want to face um anywhere, with that hitting hitting Bickett at the bottom to kind of stop long distance field goals with. So, I feel like this is either going to be like boom or bust with this kind of team. Like it's either like he's going to do really really well or he's just going to do not so good. And I don't know like how to feel with, like I said, you got Bavaro with the same playbook, which is cool. You got Herschel instead of uh Morris, so you have 80 power, so that you can add an extra point of speed or acceleration with the rest of it. But yeah, I think for the most part, it's either going to be feast or famine with that team. And I would lean more towards feast due to the player. You went 12-0 with Bo and LT or something like equal to
Yeah.
that, which is crazy
So
enough. I mean, blank me both games. So, but this isn't that kind of team. So it's just a matter
right.
of how well is Wilcher and Bickett gonna work together to either stop field goals every now and then or extra points every now and then, or really get into playing defense.
So Kramer in the New York playbook is going. He that plays to his strengths. His weakest throw is to the running back. He doesn't have to worry about that in this offense. Otherwise, he's 11s across the board. So I got to thinking about that after my initial take on it. So I'm gonna the offense is quite good now that I think about it. He's got good personnel for that playbook. I mean, yeah, the defense is. I don't love it. I would not want to play with this defense. I wouldn't feel like I'd play very well with it. But I mean, obviously Cody is very good at this game. Um, I do wonder how much like what kind of special teams, how big special teams are going to play for him because he's got the worst punter and he's got or tied for the worst punter and he's got the worst kicker. So field position is going to be tough for Green Bay. Yeah, well, I mean, you love BJ Edmonds and you hope that he can get you past the 50 a few times. Um, but defensively and special teams, that's definitely the Achilles heel for Cody's squad this season. The more I think about it, the more I like that offense. So I'm kind of like reevaluating here. I really like that offense. It's a good group. All right, my guest here. Let's look at Mac. Let's look at your team, and I'm going to turn it over to you. Run down what you were thinking putting this squad together that you've got in San
All
Fran.
right. Yeah, so I wanted to basically have a repeat of one of more of my successful teams in season where I have Joe and a great running back and really who gives a damn as far as receivers go because you're either going to pick pass and allow me to run for 5 or 6 yards, or you're going to pick run and allow me to run for 5 or 6 yards. So you're kind of at my mercy, um, depending on what you pick and what I pick. But with that, I got super lucky getting Washington bottom in the second round, only because that gives me something to at least defend, which I've always had in one of my more successful seasons, which obviously was season 10, where it was just Reggie and a bunch of garbage. So obviously there's no Reggie White in Washington bottom, but you couple that with Minnesota mid, there's a little bit of enough speed to, if they don't have much HP to popcorn anybody, we could get a stop here and there, like with enough speed and talent. With me kind of being the defensive coordinator and manning the defensive player that has enough speed to basically stop those breakout runs to the point where they get stops, then that's where a lot of that's going to happen. But no, the bread and butter is Randall and Bo. Like I said, who cares about? I usually get like Seattle receivers just to have receiver up top that at the very least can keep the defense honest. But with Indy wide receivers, there's at least something there. And yeah, the tight end is really stinky, but as long as you get 3-4 yards wide open, that's more than enough to get on second or first or second down to um, make hopefully make the right decision offensively to run and run and then run some more. So it's just a matter of um, really what is defense going to do, right? Is a lot of it's going to be run at the bottom defenders, okay, or is a lot going to be passes and whatnot? That's okay too. And the fact that it's always a 4-3 helps with those kind of pass defenses as well. Not to say I'm going to man anybody in Minnesota's. middle. It's just you got 14s instead of 12, so
Yeah.
that could play a small part in getting some key stops or getting some yardage. That could change it between 4th and 4 to maybe 4th and 1. So you may think twice about um, trying to go for it unless you're DPS. It's just like I'm just going for it no matter what yardage I got. Look at me, right? But with that, it's all offense. You got Indy's playbook, which is similar to Cleveland's playbook, except there really isn't a streaking wide receiver um, in either pass, but the runs are equal. So you got to worry about what side are you going to defend and what run did you pick for both to basically gouge you or not gouge you. So it's just a matter of really going to be what can this offense do, and can the defense do enough to put the offense back on the field to give it another chance to score.
Man, when I look at those two names at the top of your team, Cunningham and Bo Jackson, I get this ringing in my ears, and I feel my blood pressure going up. But Indy Pass One, this is one of those situations where you match the receivers to their playbook. Indy Pass One does have a streak. Booza goes deep on Pass One, and I'm sitting here thinking I think Randall Cunningham is going to run for 1,000 yards this season because the defense is going to have to give you the QB run because if they get cute with it and try and come back up to tackle Randall can fire a rocket over the defender's head to a wide open Booza for a huge gain. So, yeah, this offense is stunning. It is a tremendous collection of talent, as you noted. So you've got kind of the same weakness. I think it was Dizzy. You're weak up top. You don't have yeah, you don't have a good defender on the top half of your defense. The Washington bottom is an outstanding unit, dude. Charles Mann is a very helpful drone when on pass rushes. He's a more than capable man defender. And so I think it's an acceptable trade off to stockpile as much offensive talent as you got here. Indy special teams, Bentley's no great shakes on as a return guy, but the kicker is great and the punter's quite good. So this is a hell of a team that you've assembled here, Mac. Um, I'm going to make the very bold prediction that I don't believe you'll be playing for relegation this season. I think you'll be playing for a much larger title. So, outstanding work on that.
Cool.
Let's look at your friend of mine, Nelson 79. Nelson, one thing that always amuses me, Nelson is probably the world's foremost Roger Craig apologist. He loves Roger Craig. I think Roger Craig is the worst running back who actually gets drafted. Because, like, Darren Nelson never gets drafted, and neither does Lorenzo Hampton. Craig's abysmal initial speed, I think, makes him terrible. I think he's worse than Mack and worse than Timmy Smith. Nelson loves him. So he is pairing Roger Craig with Bernie Kosar and the very powerful Los Angeles receiver core in the Dallas playbook. That's nuts. So basically, the move here is just call pass, call pass, call pass on defense and make him beat you with Roger Craig. His offensive line is a non entity. Seattle sucks. Minnesota top is a good defensive unit. Cleveland mid is unexceptional. He took Seattle bottom, a unit that I have a lot of sentimental love for, but he's dropping Jacob Green and replacing him with Pierce Holt, which does improve the unit, but breaks my heart a little bit. So he's got Dolman at top defensive end, and now he'll have Holt on bottom. Dallas special teams, unexceptional. Um, yeah, this is until somebody proves me wrong and goes out and just beats all sorts of ass with Roger Craig, I'm going to say that this team is excellent. It's being held back by Roger Craig. What are your thoughts, Mac?
Uh, I agree, but it helps a little bit with LA receivers, and plus you have that very good. What is the playbook? Oh yeah, you got the Dallas playbook. So yeah, pass one is gonna be an issue,
Yeah,
and pass two will also be an issue, but pass one will be the bigger one. So it really does come down to, let's see, and he has, he's got Seattle's line. Oh yeah. Well, we're just gonna have to see how good Craig pairs up with those receivers and see how much mixing up he can do on offense to keep the
yeah,
defense honest at the very least. You know, defensively, I guess you got, you have Dolman and uh, yeah, okay,
yeah.
you got
He's got Dolman and Browner up top, and Pierce Holt on the bottom.
okay. So
It's a
it's
good trio. I like his defense a
yeah,
lot.
yeah. It's I think it's similar, a little similar to the defense I drafted last season, where you got talent on the bottom, talent on the top, but with that talent on both sides, it's really kind of like pick and choose as far as what you want to do um, on defense to defend good offenses. So I feel like Nelson's going to do decently and not be in relegation, but it's really going to depend on what's going to happen with Craig. And can Craig get those extra yards to make fourth and two, fourth and three instead of like fourth and five or something. So we'll see.
Yeah, yeah. Nelson's a good player, and he's difficult to corral. He's a he's good at juking. Um, so like that will help. And I will also note, like, Tim Brown is going to crush in the Dallas playbook. If it's not play picked, he is going to crush with his initial speed. So the challenge Nelson will have this season is beating people with Roger Craig. We'll see if he can do it. Let's welcome back our man Oltada to the big leagues. Runner up in G League last season, he advanced because Turd decided not to move up. Let's look at the team that he's assembled here. Took Boomer Esiason, who is a clone of Japan Elway, outstanding quarterback. He's got Kevin Mack and then Jerry Rice in the San Fran receiver crew, Chicago offensive line, one of the best. Squanders that a bit because he has Derek Crawford as his return guy. So Crawford will outperform what he might otherwise, but he's not going to house a bunch. We love this defense. So he's got the Washington defensive top. It's the most stacked single unit. All three players are good. In the mid, he's got Bill Pickle at nose tackle. Pickle's main claim to fame is that he gets in there better than most on play picks. You're more likely to get a sack with him rather than the guy get back to the line of scrimmage. And then he's got Frank Minifield on the bottom. So this is a great defensive unit that he's put out there. And he's in the Miami playbook. Esiason to Jerry Rice is going to crush in the Miami playbook. It's also not a bad offense to have Kevin Mack in. So I think this is a really good team. And Oltada um, could pose a real challenge here. He's starting to get a lot of experience under his belt. He's now had the opportunity to play some winning Tecmo Bowl down in G League. I would not be surprised if he makes a whole lot of noise this season. He might even be a playoff contender. Mac, what are your thoughts?
I agree, and I'm not saying that because he's a fellow Slumdog member in Tribes from the last season. No, yeah, who cares about running back is irrelevant with Miami playbook. Again, it's similar to San Francisco's playbook, but the difference is that run because that run, like, you can't really pick a defender to stop it much. Like you can basically pick run every down and get 3-4 yards guaranteed. It's just full stop because you're so worried about what Rice is going to do on the bottom and what pass play you have to pick to stop Rice from destroying your defense. So, it could be just a matter of if you pick correctly with, manning the right defender to stop the run to hold it to maybe 2 or 3 yards or, anywhere from 3 yards or less, then you got a better hope that you pick the right pass, because otherwise, yeah, you're getting, Boomer either going to run or Rice is going to catch or not even Rice. You got enough at that core to keep defenses honest to get stuff done. So, he's got enough everywhere to do great things, and I feel like he's going to be a playoff contender this season.
Yeah, this is, I think right now, with two still to look at, I think Oltada has, I think he's put together the best balanced team. Um, because his offense is dangerous and there's a lot of talent on on his defense. If I could trade anybody's roster for mine, I would probably take, and when you factor in the playbook, I'm taking either Altada's or yours. Those are my two. These are just really good rosters. Let's look at our guy Tennessee Williams and the New York Jets. Gangrene here. Doug Williams, a quarterback, middle of the road guy. Bobby Humphrey was his hero pick. Bobby's a solid back. The very talented Washington wide receivers and in the Washington playbook. So another instance of putting personnel in their in-game playbook. It was designed for them. It tends to work out well. This is a really good offense that he's got together. New York offensive line is a non-entity. Defensively, I mean, he's got Lawrence Taylor and he's got Fred Young. Like, it don't really get any better than that. Um, yeah, it is. That's pretty good. Lawrence Taylor and Fred Young. So nobody's going to be able to get a single kick, like a field goal attempt or an extra point on Tennessee the whole season, right? Like, I don't think they're going to get one because LT's the best field goal blocker, and Fred Young, in my opinion, is the second best extra point blocker after Carl Banks. But the difference between them is minimal. You're very rarely going to get a kickoff on either one of them. So this is a crazy talented team here. Another really good one that I would trade my team for. So Tennessee, I know you're in the chat. The only weakness I see when I look at this is there's no good defender on the top part of the defense, which is important to me. I really miss that when I don't have it, but for this team, I'd go without it. Mac, when you look at Tennessee's roster, what are your thoughts?
Mm, Let's see. Where is that O line? O line is New York, which is a bunch of garbage.
Yeah, they're
I
terrible.
feel yeah, I feel like if this team had an O line like mine, yeah, it's a we're in fear of the league here because it's just you got Bobby, you got the right receivers, which can again keep people honest with the speed at top and bottom. So you got a lot of places you need to worry about defending. But all that being said, yeah, I mean you got LT and Fred Young, so it is really going to matter like who he's manning mostly. Do you let LT drone and do his thing, or are you manning Fred Young? I think for the most part, most people would just man LT every down and hope for the best, which for the most part can work because
Yeah.
obviously it's LT. So, I always have issues with teams that pick LT every season because you would think you can run at them, but then it's like, well, they're prepared for that. And you can't really pass much because LT is just way too fast
Yeah.
to, pick up there to throw at the top or do anything there. So, it's like on defense, it is a probably one of the second best defenses drafted, yours being first. Um, but yeah, we'll have to see what the player does with all this undue talent that he does indeed have to, do anything worthwhile. Could it be possible relegation? Sure. You don't. You got Doug Williams. He's not that great. He's not bad, but he's not that good either. So you could make some mistakes passing the ball where you think somebody's open, and because that speed is so slow, you wind up throwing a pick where you thought it was going to be open, for 10, 20 yards. So
Yeah.
it's really going to depend on the talent of the coach slash player with the team that's there. So even with LT, right? If it's just all right, I'm gonna pick every run that runs it at right at LT. Well, then those are three. Those are basically pass plays that are wide open,
Yeah.
and you can basically gouge the team because LT can't be everywhere to where you get 4 or 5 yards a play because you're so scared about being ran on every down. But with Young being there too, could make a player think if you choose right and they choose, the wrong play, you choose the right player, and then it's like, oh crap, now I got to worry about whether or not he's going to man the right player. So it really is going to be predicated a lot on player skill for this team to either be really good or really bad.
Yeah. So Williams is one of those. I have a thing that I think of. I call it the Kozar line. Kozar and above are guys, so 12 arm power basically, um, are guys who can make any throw that you want them to make. They can throw across the field. They can throw into tight windows. Williams comes in a little below that Kozar line. So does Phil Simms. Uh, TK, Tommy Kramer, Dave Craig, all these guys are below the Kozar line, which means that in general, it's best to keep throws short and straight with them. You don't necessarily want to try and whip it across the field the way you can with like an Elway. So that I guess could potentially hold him back. I don't know. I like the talent on that offense, and then of course you can't argue with uh, with LT, and then you added Fred Young. Really good team here, Tennessee. Finally, let's wrap this up with your man and mine, Wade from West Virginia. Outstanding first season in Tecmo Bowl League last year. How's he going to follow that up? He's got based Phil Simms at quarterback, Marcus Allen at running back. He has the Minnesota receivers, and his hero pick was the Chicago offensive line. So there's a lot of power here. He's got the LA special teams. Tim Brown's a great returner. That's a really good unit. So yeah, love that talent. He's putting them in the Seattle playbook. Minnesota wide receivers are very well suited for this playbook, in my opinion. About the only thing that sucks is that there's no opportunity to throw to Marcus Allen, but you've still got Anthony Carter and Steve Jordan. So I really like this offense. He's got Hanford Dixon, Diet Ronnie Lott, in the Cleveland top unit, New York mid, which I should have drafted, and then Miami bottom. So it's basically Dixon is the show on defense, but Dixon is the man. So this is a good team here, Mac. What do you say?
Um, I don't. It's just the team is better. I think he drafted a better team than he thinks, right? And
Yeah,
it's really going to come down to similar to Tennessee. Like, how is your execution going to be on offense? I'm sorry, on defense, realistically. Because again, if you face a playbook like Miami or hell, even a San Francisco playbook, you're never going to man. I mean, yeah, you're going to man the right man to get that run, but then that run can be got for anywhere from 3 to 5 yards, regardless of you know because Dixon is fast, but he's not that fast.
yeah,
So again, you're kind of stuck with um, what can you do on defense to keep those offenses from scoring points, and then what can you do on offense to do that, to keep scoring points there too. So the offense is loaded to hell, with the Sims being the only weakness. And I love that Chicago O line. I was thinking of considering doing picking that too, just to have Bo um, have something to run behind or run right at too. But Indy's line is more than enough for that. So yeah, I feel like could Wade be one of those players where the team is drafted really well and he doesn't, the season doesn't go well? I mean, I don't think so. To be honest, I think he'll be end up 500 or a little above it. because again, that offense is going to go so well, and he
Yep.
does a great job of mixing stuff up. It's just a matter of execution when it boils down to the right cycle or the right play at the right time. So I think it'll do well. I think I would love to play this team for sure.
Yeah.
Not saying
This.
that there's a weakness to exploit. It's just like, okay, this is going to be a team where it would have to use all of my brain to try to stop or at least try to bait into something negative or bad to happen so that I can take full advantage of it, on offense. And, even with the special teams of um, to LA, yeah, I mean, there's even something positive there too. So there's a lot to be happy about with this team. Like, there's
Yep.
nothing bad about the team he drafted at all. Even with Sims being a little slow in the arm, like that's not really that bad either. So it's just a matter of how is he going to execute on offense to keep teams honest defensively, and how is he going to execute on defense to keep teams honest offensively, just like Tennessee.
Yeah, he's like I think he came out really good here in that his defense is thin, right? Like on special teams, for example, um, if Dixon misses early in the return because he's going to be that guy gunning right down the middle and getting through. If he misses, then there's not a lot of talent to help chase down a returner. That's something to keep in mind. Dixon could potentially be targeted in the run game, but Wade is very good at this current defensive meta we have right now, which is defend with a great top safety, and then on a run, just run in and engage your blocker right away, tap him out, and then the running back's not even by you. So you're going to nail him for a 2 or 3 yard gain most of the time with someone like Hanford
Yep.
Dixon. That's part of why I drafted the playbook and personnel that I did to counter that because I ate shit to it real bad last season versus Dan and Wade. So I wanted to avoid that this season. But if you're only going to have one guy on defense, Hanford Dixon is a good guy to have. And then I do like this collection of offensive and special teams talent in that playbook. This is a good team. I don't think it's the best roster in the league. There's a few that I like more. But yeah, Wade put together a good team. So Mac, we've been through the whole league. Do you want to put it out on the line and make any predictions?
Yeah, I am. I'm going to predict that Wade makes the playoffs. There you go. There's my
Okay.
there's my sleep. There's my dark horse. Screw it. I'm going to say Wade makes the playoffs. He may not beat me, but he's going to make the playoffs. Screw it. Screw it. And as far as Final Four, yeah, it'll be probably DPS and Drew again for the title. Um, but that's if I'm gonna go out on a limb, if I'm gonna go out on a prediction, I'm gonna say Wade makes the playoffs, and I'm gonna say he makes it easily. Like there's not gonna be any room for any mistakes, and I think he knows that. And he played well enough. First season up here, he kind of started out shaky, but didn't make the playoffs due to some, I don't know, some type of tiebreaker or something. But no, that's gonna be. I'm not picking no Final Four because I'm going DPS and Drew, and I'm not picking the champion there because either one could win because both of them are talented enough to do it. Um, but yeah, I'm just all I'm gonna say as far as prediction. Uh, Wade makes the playoffs. Relegation, I don't really see splitting hairs. Um, I don't really see too many teams could be there. Could Nelson be there? Sure, because Craig is wait made Craig. And and 40 could be there because San Francisco's playbook really limits you to 3 players. So even when Wade faces off against that playbook, for example, I mean Dixon's perfect
Yeah.
because that run you're going to get 3 yards on, right? And then those passes is all he's going to have to do is focus on the right pass to either get it called or get it defended enough on the bottom so that he can manage to keep it honest between the runs and the defender that he's got. So, and yes, no love for Rogers spread eagle um on the in the
Yeah. I
tooted up
just
on the
Yeah. And what's I mean, like I think Roger Craig IRL should be in the Hall of Fame. He's a Nebraska legend. I love the guy. I think he
Right.
sucks on this game. And so
Right.
until somebody proves me wrong, I'm going to say that Roger Craig is team poison. I don't know if it's going to land Levi in like the relegation games, but it might keep him out of the playoffs. So here's my spicy prediction. Of the guys who did not make the playoffs last season, I'm going to say Oltada will sneak into the playoffs. Right? Oltada has the team. He does not have the track record of success. Right? So he's going to but he wins a lot in Tecmo Super Bowl. He just needs to have that same kind of winning attitude in Tecmo Bowl that he has in TSB because he's got a great roster and he could into get into the playoffs, I think. For the final four, I'm gonna predict obviously like it's foolish not to pick Dan and Drew. I'm gonna put Mac in there because that's just overwhelming offensive firepower. And then you know what? I'm gonna believe in me. I'm gonna say I'm gonna make the semifinals. So that means you make the playoffs and you either get a bye or win a game to get into the semis. So that's my prediction for the final four: Dan, Drew, Mac, and myself. Again, gotta pump yourself up if you get the chance. I think Oltada will surprise a lot of people this season. So that's it. This was a long stream, Mac. Thank you so much, dude. This was a lot of fun. We'll have to do this next season too.
Yep, for sure.
All right, man. Thanks for watching, everybody. Good luck this season, and have a great rest of your Sunday.